Let's get straight into our numbers. Our psephologists have been doing a deep dive for our viewers, and over the next 1 hour, we will understand how the important castes in India voted in this election. We will take you behind the scenes and understand the Narendra Modi electoral miracle. Make no mistake, a 14% jump in vote share for one party is one of the steepest jumps ever seen. What is the breakup of this jump? How did Narendra Modi and the BJP make it happen? Let's first recap where we stand this evening as far as the post-poll figures are concerned. We're decoding the Narendra Modi wave. You'd remember that the UPA, which had 226 seats as far as the alliance is concerned in 2009, is projected to crash to between 110 to 120 seats in 2014. The Congress itself is slated to crash to its lowest tally ever from 206 in 2009, crashing now just pull that back once. The Congress from 206 crashing to between 83 and 89. That's the projection for the Congress. Then you've got the BJP, 116 in 2009, now expected to jump to 213 to 231. This is by far the strongest performance the BJP has ever registered, because 182 was its previous maximum. Now we're seeing the BJP push way beyond where Vajpayee left the BJP. Now let's come to the national vote share projections. The NDA as a whole is expected to see its vote share jump from 26 to 38. That's a gain of 12% vote share for the NDA. The UPA from 33% votes crashing to 26, a loss of 7% vote share. Others from 41 to 36, a loss of 5. Let's look at the individual party breakup as far as votes are concerned. Now this is very important because this shows how the vote is moving away from the Congress. A 6% swing away from the Congress is its worst performance ever, and a massive electoral swing, because elections can turn on 2 or 3% national vote being moved away. The Congress lost 6%. The BJP, on the other hand, jumping from 19% to 33%. That's a gain of 14% vote share for the Bharatiya Janata Party, making it the most formidable national party at this time. This is the broad picture. Now what I want to do for our viewers is do a deep dive on the national caste breakup. Remember, regardless of what everyone might think or say or like, caste plays an important role still. So let's start with the upper caste vote, and this is the pan-India upper caste vote. In 2009, according to the Cicero India Today Group survey, the UPA had 31% of the all-India upper caste vote. That's now coming down to 22, a loss of 9% upper caste vote for the UPA. That's a big loss when it comes to one of the categories that the UPA had cornered 1/3 of their vote last time. Now, on the other hand, the BJP, which had picked up 34% of the upper caste vote, and the BJP is known to generally be a party which upper castes favor, that vote share going up by 18% to a whopping 52%, from 34 to 52. That's a big jump in upper caste vote. These are the others from 35 to 26, but that's an amalgamation of a whole host of other parties. We'll focus on the big two parties nationally. From the upper caste vote, let's now this is the Congress's vote. From 27 to 18, a loss of 9. From 27 to 47 for the BJP, a gain of 20% of the upper caste vote. After the upper caste vote, let's now come to the next category. This is the OBC vote. This is the national OBC tally. 38% for the BJP. That's a gain of 9% of the vote share. The UPA's vote share from 33 coming down to 25, a loss of 8% of the vote share. No wonder Rahul Gandhi is not happy with the way things are at all. Others at 37. That's a loss of 1% of the OBC vote. As far as the Congress is concerned, from 28 to 21, that's a loss of 7% of the OBC vote. Remember, Narendra Modi has spun a narrative of being a backward caste leader, of being a member of the OBC community. This seems to have done quite well for the BJP, especially in Uttar Pradesh and Bihar, where, as you can see in these numbers, the BJP share of the OBC vote is jumping up from 18 to 30. That's a gain of 12% of the OBC vote. No wonder Narendra Modi in our animation graphic there, as excited as he is. That's a big gain in OBC vote for the BJP. Let's now come to the scheduled caste vote, the Dalit vote. The BJP, and this to my mind is very significant because the BJP is never really known to be a very strong party among the Dalits. The NDA is seeing an overall increase of 16% of its Dalit vote from 20 to 36. The Congress is losing out 8%, coming down from 31 to 23. The others have come down to 41. Now, how does the BJP pull some of this Dalit vote? They've got a tie-up with Paswan, which has helped them, but just in Bihar. But in Uttar Pradesh and elsewhere, we've seen some of the aspirational Dalit vote, especially amongst the youngsters, move away towards the Congress fold. Here is the figure for the Congress from 27 to 20. The Congress has lost 7% of the scheduled caste vote that they had. This, to my mind, is one of the big stories of this election. From 16 to 33. 1/3 of the Dalits who were polled by Cicero for the India Today group said that they had voted for the BJP, which means the BJP now has 33% of the scheduled caste vote. That is a very significant gain for the party which has traditionally never been strong amongst the Dalits. Let's move on to the next category. And this is of the tribal vote, the UPA. From 41 to 31, that's a loss of 10% of the tribal vote. The NDA going up to 42, that's a gain of 19% of the tribal vote. And the other thing that you would see as we keep putting out these numbers for you is that the BJP is gaining across caste categories. So it's not as if their victory is based on only one caste voting in greater numbers for them. Across castes, the Congress is losing, like in the case of the tribal vote, and this has been the party that's dominated the tribal vote in India's electoral history, now coming down from 37 in 2009 to 30 currently. Whereas the Bharatiya Janata Party is seeing, just as far as the BJP is concerned, amongst the tribals who were polled by Cicero for India Today, 40% said they'd voted for the BJP. That's a 20% jump. That is massive. Especially because it's the Congress which says we are the Garibon ki party, we are the Aam Aadmi party. However, it's the BJP that seems to have pulled the tribal vote towards it. Let's now come to the Muslim vote. The Congress at 37% of the Muslim vote, it stays at 37% of the Muslim vote. So it hasn't seen an aggregation of Muslim vote, because there was a sense that because Narendra Modi was in the fray, Muslims would polarize against the national alternative that could halt Modi in his tracks. That didn't happen. The Congress is where it is, 37%. The interesting story though is that, and this is something that will get debated, because we got Mani Shankar Iyer joining us now on this broadcast, and I'm sure he'd debate this, but the India Today Group Cicero opinion poll shows that the percentage of Muslims who voted for the BJP has gone up from 12 to 18. That's a 6% gain. That might not be substantial, you may think, but the reality is, at a time when the popular political narrative was that Muslims would polarize against Modi, that not a single Muslim would go out and vote for Modi, 18% of the Muslim vote is not bad at all for a party like the BJP led by a leader like Narendra Modi, which shows that a lot of what people have been saying hasn't been accepted by voters on the ground. As far as the Congress itself is concerned, it had 32% of the Muslim vote last time, now at 32. The BJP, now I'm not talking about the NDA here, I'm talking just about the BJP. The BJP is seeing its vote share go up from 9 to 15, a gain of 6% for the Bharatiya Janata Party as far as the Muslims are concerned, which means 1 in 7 Muslims have actually voted for the BJP. 6 in 7 haven't. It depends on how you see it. Let's now come to the Sikh vote. 32% of the Sikhs had voted for the Congress last time, 32. This is the UPA we're talking about. 34 have voted this time. That's a gain of 2% of the Sikh vote. So maybe Rahul Gandhi has something not to be unhappy about, not particularly to smile about, but not particularly unhappy. Modi, on the other hand, is seeing, this is the NDA vote share among the Sikhs, going up from 36 to 38, not very substantial, but just a 2% increase. Let's now focus just on the Congress and the BJP. From 31 to 31, that's the Congress's vote share amongst the Sikhs, whereas as far as the BJP vote share amongst the Sikhs is concerned, they were 21% last time, they're 22% now. That's a gain of 1%. Okay, this is the national caste cauldron. I'm going to break it up in this same fashion across age demographics, across urban rural demographics, understanding and decoding the Narendra Modi way. But I want to introduce now our guests for this program this evening, Dr. Ashok Lahiri, India Today Group's lead cephalogist, one of the pioneers of opinion polling in India. With him also, Dhananjay Joshi from Cicero. Joining us on this broadcast represent the Bharatiya Janata Party, Nirmala Sitharaman, national spokesperson of the party. Mani Shankar Iyer is joining us from the Congress Party. Shiv Vishwanathan is joining us from Sonipat, the leading social scientist. I want to go across first to Mani Shankar Iyer and understand from you, Mr. Iyer, what you make of the numbers of the India Today Cicero post-poll survey, because the Congress for the longest time sold the people of India a story that it was the party of the poor, that the tribals, the scheduled castes were strongly behind the Congress, and the entire process of entitlements, the whole business of entitlements that the Congress created were meant to help the poorest of the poor. This poll suggests that there is an aspirational, divide there, and younger people especially amongst these communities have gravitated towards the Congress party, have gravitated towards the BJP away from the Congress party. What are you making of these numbers, Mr. Mani Shankar Iyer?
I first have to enter a caveat. I regret having to do so, but I believe that given the fact that you seem to think that your poll figures reflect reality, it's necessary for me to say that the Aaj Tak headlines today projections in 2009 and 2004 were both completely off the mark. So there is a possibility that your figures this time again are completely off the mark. But having made that caveat, let me say that if there's going to be a general diminution of the vote of the Congress, by the seats of the Congress by half, then it's inevitable that across all sections there will be some diminution. And therefore, there is no particular significance to this apart from the arithmetical fact that you can't get down to 50% of the seats you held unless you lose votes among every section of the population, which does not mean that you've lost them forever. We have in the past, in fact, the election that I was most involved with in 1989, we had as proportional a fall in the Congress number of seats as you are projecting today. We went down then from about 410 to 192, which is less than half, very much less than half, and you're saying that the similar sort of thing might be happening this time. So I don't believe that the sociology of the country has altered dramatically. The politics of it has changed, but then this is normal in a democracy, that we should be moving from one party to another. In the last 15 years, not 15 years, the last 25 years, we have frequently been out of power, and we've also often been in power. And therefore, I don't think any of these demographic shifts that you're representing constitutes a definitive change of the voting pattern.
Okay, that's interesting. You're saying this is not a definitive permanent change. This is just a reflection of where the Congress is at this time. Nirmala Sitharaman, is that something you're prepared to accept? Do you feel that the politics of India is being altered forever, where people are looking beyond just a pure play caste calculus and also incorporating aspiration? The whole narrative of aspiration that Modi has built has entered the political calculus and is now here to stay. How do you respond to Mani Shankar Iyer, Ms. Sitharaman?
Well, it's very difficult to say that it is going to change forever, or it may not change forever. That is too much of a tenuous argument to build on. But I will certainly start with saying there is a rejection of the way in which politics was played all the while. People are looking at their aspirations to be met. All the divides which existed earlier with a smokescreen of "we are your well-wishers" no longer applies to any one party. Clearly, people are looking at people who can deliver, leaders who can deliver, leaders who can perform, leaders who can answer, and leaders who are with a connect with the common people. And that is where I think the entire dialogue of this election campaign has shifted from the traditional dialogues, and this therefore will mark a change certainly in the way in which campaign, connection with voters, and also meeting up with those issues on which people want the discourse to be held. These things will definitely change.
Okay.
Now, whether it's going to be permanent or not is irrelevant at this time. But
no, it's
what
not
is
irrelevant.
It's
not irrelevant. I'll explain why the relevance exists. Because in Uttar Pradesh, when Akhilesh Yadav won, in West Bengal, when Mamata Banerjee won, in Bihar, when Nitish Kumar won, Dr. Ashok Lahiri, we saw traditional caste calculations collapse. That across caste lines, the winner had been able to aggregate vote share. Now, in the mandalization of Indian politics, we thought that there would be identity politics, that voters belonging to certain castes would want to continue to vote for parties that they believe would uphold their caste interests. Are we seeing that being smashed first regionally and through the 2014 mandate nationally as well?
Rahul, allow me to first comment on what Mr. Manishankar Iyer said. See, I am very afraid of politicians. They can really send shivers down your spine. The results are going to come out in 72 hours, not 72 hours, in 48 hours. And he told us that the exit poll can go wrong. So I want to tell your viewers there's an exit poll, but we'll never know except from post-poll data how the cast absolutely voted. And I'm very glad about first you calling the program Decoding the Modi Wave. Because remember, some politicians are saying well, there is no Modi wave at all. But if you look at the way Mr. Modi has campaigned, I'm very glad you call it the Modi wave, because he started a high voltage campaign about 6 months ago. He traveled 3 lakh kilometers, 437 rallies he addressed. There were about 5,800 public events, and no one can call Mr. Modi, if the exit poll proves to be right, an accidental prime minister. He was a deliberate prime minister because BJP's program was really Modi for Modi Sarkar. Now coming back to your caste point. See what the post poll of India Today Cicero Group shows, that the Muslims, even the Muslims have started voting for BJP, but it's only 18%, that's 1 in 5.
That's NDA, 15% is BJP.
15% is BJP. But what is very interesting is scheduled caste and scheduled tribes, which you showed as 17 to 20%. Mind you, exclusivist politics in a system where everyone has a vote does not pay, because you cannot have a single caste voting for you and you winning the election. So I think what we are seeing is that the BJP has succeeded in making inroads into the scheduled caste and scheduled tribe vote bank. And that is very important. And though in the Muslim case, it is very marginal, but still we see that the BJP is no longer can be called, if these exit poll results are to be believed, a Brahmin Baniya party.
Absolutely. No, because the Congress believed it was strong amongst the scheduled caste, the scheduled tribes. That's now being smashed. I want to introduce also Pinaki Mishra, leading lawyer, also member of parliament of the BJD. Mr. Mishra, you were one of the fiercest opponents of the existence of a Narendra Modi wave. Now that the BJP's vote share is slated to go up by a whopping 14% in a state like Uttar Pradesh, it is doubling its vote share. Based on all that you've seen, is Naveen Patnaik and is Pinaki Mishra willing to admit that yes, there was a Narendra Modi wave which you either deliberately or unconsciously failed to detect?
Look, he's run a very forceful campaign, that goes without saying. But I'm not sure that the wave is, if you call it a wave, is across 542 seats. I don't see in Orissa, for instance, the BJP getting more than 2 to 3 seats. They will open their account, possibly, but it's all because the Congress has ceded so much space in Orissa. The Congress has come crashing from the mid-40s. 44, 45%, now they're down to 22, 23%. We've picked up a large share of that, but so has the BJP picked up a large share of that. So this is directly proportionate to how much space the Congress is ceding.
No, but let me debate what you're saying. You are still questioning the quantum of a Modi wave. Now, let's just try and set some parameters and understand from you, one by one, starting with Dr. Lahiri, what would constitute a Modi wave to get critics like a Manishankar Iyer, like a Pinaki Mishra to believe in the existence of the phenomena called a Modi wave? For a party that's seeing its seat share come up to almost 230, what do you think? What is the one cutoff point where you think no one can say that no, there was no Modi wave?
No, Mr. Iyer can be right if the exit polls are proved to be wrong, then the premise is denied. But what is astounding is not so much the swing away from the Congress. Congress has seen higher swings away from it, 9.5%. But BJP's swing, if the exit polls are right, 13.7% is unprecedented in Indian electoral history. It's about 1.5 times the swing that it managed between 1989 and 1991. And mind you, Congress faces an existentialist crisis, because what is happening, though the swing away from the Congress is smaller.
How do you qualify a Modi wave? How do you define it?
Modi wave, I will do it on the basis of history. I mean, has India seen such a big swing in favor of one party? And
no,
I'm
but then the
saying
Congress
no.
can argue after Indira Gandhi's death in '84, that was a real sympathy wave, and this is not that much. Is that a fair argument?
That's not correct, because after Indira, 1977 to 1980, it was 9%. In between 1980 and 1984, after Mrs. Gandhi's assassination, it was 9.75%.
So this is bigger. This
is bigger.
Okay, Dhananjay, how do you define to the skeptics a Narendra Modi wave? Let's just try and set a parameter for that.
Yeah, well, there are two things that I'm going to look at. First of all, the vote share of BJP across states is smaller than the actual popularity rating of Narendra Modi. When the leader of a political party pulls more popularity than the number of votes that it gets, this is one of the objective criteria that we can have and say that this is an election which is driven by the Modi phenomena, even if one doesn't call it a Modi wave. Why would I call it a wave? Because if we look at every category, we've looked at caste community, we'll look at locality, we'll look at education,
we'll come to that
other things. But if we look at every category, let's stick to caste community, everywhere the BJP gains. There isn't a single community where the BJP actually loses.
That's an important point. Manishankar Iyer, the fact that in every caste configuration, the BJP is gaining vote share, the aggregate jump in vote share is 13%, which is more than the Congress has gained in its biggest swing election. Would that not, if these figures were to come to be true, qualify as a big Modi wave? Would you then accept that there is indeed a Modi wave which you denied?
Would you deny that 5 years ago, just 5 years ago, only 5 years ago, there were similar results that were achieved by the Congress when it went from, I think, 145 to 206. I'm sure in every category we went up. This is a mathematical inevitability. And somehow you're trying to read great sociological change into it, as if Indians never had aspirations until Narendra Modi arrived up. I think this kind of pop sociology has very little place in a true intellectual discourse. If the Congress has in fact lost that share of the vote that you are projecting, then inevitably it would be a loss across each of these categories. But since only 5 years ago, almost similar improvements were recorded by the Congress in each of these categories, I don't think it has any long-term significance. It's only got a significance for this particular election, provided India today is not, as usual, completely off the mark. You've always been off the mark. This time, God knows, you
there
might
are several polls that have been right as well, but we will wait for 48 hours for you to answer that question to you. But Dr. Lahiri and Dhananjay both want to come in on what you're saying.
Mr. Iyer, you're right that the Congress increased its seats between 2004 and 2009, but if you will recall, the increase in its vote percentage was only 2%.
2%, right.
So the multiplier, as Eric DeCosta used to call it, was very much in favor. And now what is happening, since you are losing votes from already a precarious 28.55%, fairly soon you may find that even a 1% swing away from the Congress is a very costly affair in terms of seats. Would you agree that the voting percentage did not change between 2004 and 2009 as much as these exit polls, and please pray for us that this exit poll is right. Our professional reputation is at stake. This is a different story.
But may I ask a question here?
Yes, Mr. Iyer, you may.
In 1989, when we fell from, I think, 410 seats to 192, would there not have been a similar swing against the Congress party.
Only 9.6%.
And would it not have been reflected in every state and in every community?
9.6%.
I'm not objecting to your drawing these figures now, but to pretend that this constitutes a galactic change in the nature of our society, I think is a huge exaggeration.
Okay, I'm still not being able to get our panelists to define a Modi wave. Let me try with Pinaki Mishra. Manishankar Iyer has gone around and explained why we can't really get carried away, why this doesn't constitute a Modi wave, despite Dr. Lahiri explaining that 13% jump in favor of one party nationally is the biggest jump in one party's vote share in one election in India's electoral history. If that were to happen, would you be gracious enough to admit, Pinaki Mishra, that there indeed was a Narendra Modi wave operating which you were denying?
Well, I don't think it's happening across 542 seats. That's the point. You know, if it's only happening across 250 seats, then you still have half of India which has been left out of that loop. In which case, you know, how do you define a wave across only half?
Okay, all that Pinaki Mishra is prepared to concede, Nirmala Sitharaman, is there may have been a wave in half the country, in the rest of the country there was a ripple or lack thereof. And therefore, you can't say there was a pan-India Modi wave. How do you answer both Manishankar Iyer and Pinaki Mishra, Ms. Sitharaman?
You know, each one is talking from his own point of view rather than looking at what is literally in our face. There is a change which has happened, a significant change which has happened in this election. It is all very well then to say, is it going to be permanent? Is it going to be social engineering? Is it going to be a pop study of the society? Today, let's admit, with a given caveat that your exit poll may be right, may be not right. But with these figures, what can we say? That across the board, irrespective of caste combinations, we have gained. And Mr. Modi's presence has brought a lot of difference, and that's what is going to be defined as a singular impact, and which I think popularly people call it as a wave. Now, if you're going to start defining the wave now, in spite of the facts telling you what they are saying, obviously, we are making a, you know, pardon me for this expression, a farcical discussion. Admit there is a massive change. Admit the change went in favor of BJP. And then say whether you want to call it a wave or not. But don't pretend as if nothing has happened. Everything is as same as 2004 and 2009.
Oh, it's not. I think the denials must end. Because if 9% is the biggest vote share increment that a party has received in the past, in previous elections, a 13% gain for one party is a wave. The argument can be, is it a cephalogical tsunami or not? You can debate that, but to deny the existence of a wave, given these numbers, is impossible, and I think that's something, regardless of the politics of our various netas, you cannot deny. I want to come now to the urban-rural breakup, because the Congress has said we are strong in rural areas, that Narendra Modi is a TV phenomena, that he's an urban phenomena. Is that the case? What do the results of the India Today Group Cicero post-poll study show? Let's have the numbers up on the screen. I start with the rural vote. This is the NDA rural vote going up from 25 to 38, a gain of 13% rural vote share for the NDA. The Congress coming down from 33 to 27, that's a loss of 6% of the rural vote that they cherish so much. How does this play when it comes to individual parties and their vote share? The Congress's individual vote share in rural India coming down from 28 to 23, a loss of 5%. Rahul Gandhi clearly has a lot to be unhappy about, because this is what they said they were empowering. The entitlements were all for rural India. They have lost ground in rural India as well. And the same wave that we saw in favor of the BJP nationally is actually playing out here too. 19% to 33, a gain of 14% of the rural vote for the Bharatiya Janata Party, which means that the Modi wave, the Modi phenomena, is as strong in rural India as it is in urban India. But no, I haven't told you the urban India figures yet, so you just need to wait for a moment while I call them up on our screen right now. Out of the urban India vote share, the UPA had 33% of the vote share. That's now coming down to 25, a loss of 8%. The NDA has 38%, that's a gain of 13. The others have 32. Let's break this up party-wise and have the BJP and the Congress's individual vote shares in rural areas. Okay, this is from 30 to 22, that's a loss of 8. This is the urban vote share. This title is not right. 30 to 22, loss of 8% of the urban vote for the Congress. So they've lost 8% of the urban vote. The BJP has gained 13% of the urban vote, from 18 to 31. And the point that this graphic makes is that the BJP is today stronger in rural India than in urban India. It picked up 33% of the vote share in rural India. It's picked up 31% of the vote share in urban India. So anybody who thought that the BJP and the Modi phenomena was stronger in urban India and not so strong in rural India really needs to check his calculations once more. Let's now break this up according to age categories and see whether amongst the younger people, the middle-aged or the older, where does Modi have the maximum support. We'll start with the youth vote. Here is the NDA's youth vote, which is jumping up from 25 to 40. What this means is that the jump in the young people's vote share is highest in all the categories that we've seen so far. The national was 14. This is 15% for the NDA. The UPA hasn't lost much, from 27 to 26. That's a loss of 1. The others have lost 14%, from 48 coming down to 34. Let's now break this up party-wise for our viewers. The Congress had 24% of those who are between 18 and 25 in the last election. That's now come down to 23, a loss of 1% of the vote share. When it comes to the Bharatiya Janata Party, they've actually jumped up very significantly from 17 to 35, 4% more than the national gain, which means the biggest gain that we've seen for the BJP so far across categories has been amongst the young people. Remember, there are 150 million first-time voters. So this 18% may not seem that much, but when you look at the electoral size of India, that's when the enormity of this achievement starts sinking in. Up to the age of 25, 18% more people have voted for Modi and the BJP this time than they did for Advani and the BJP in the last Lok Sabha election. That is a very big gain. Remember this figure, 35. This is very important because the next category that we are going to put on our screen is that of the middle-aged voter. The voter between 26 and 55. Here is the NDA's vote share jumping up from 26 to 39, a gain of 13%. The Congress coming down to 25, a loss of 8%. Let's break this up for the Congress and the BJP. Let's start with the Congress. The Congress itself had 29% of the middle-aged voter in 2009. That's now come down to 22, a loss of 7%. The BJP had 19% of the middle-aged voter. That's now gone up to 33, a gain of 14% among middle-aged voters. Remember, 35 is what they had of the young voter, which means they've done better among young voters than they have amongst middle-aged voters. Let's now compare this with the older voter, the voter above 56 years of age. Let's start with the UPA, which had 33% of the vote amongst those above 56 last time. That's now down to 29, which means the Congress hasn't done so badly, the UPA hasn't done so badly amongst the older voters. And the NDA's gain also amongst the older voters is not that strong. 14% was their gain nationally. Here they are gaining only 9%, 36. Let's look at a party-wise breakup among the older voters. This is interesting because it signals, unlike the younger voter who's more fickle, more prepared to jump, more prepared to experiment, the older voter tends to vote the way he has in previous elections. The Congress's vote share among older voters coming down from 29 to 25, a loss of only 5% of the vote share. They've held on there reasonably. Let's now come to the BJP and assess how much of the older voter have they got. This is very interesting. From 19 to 30, a gain of only 11. A gain nonetheless, but a gain much lesser than the gain among younger voters, and that is significant, and that's the point I want to put to Ashok Lahiri first, because what this shows is that, and you would remember when we were in Hajipur, Modi said to those who are between 18 and 28, I want to say this, we are not looking at 28, we look at 18 to 25, and Narendra Modi's biggest gains have come amongst the youngest voters, the first time voters, who are the strongest constituency for Narendra Modi.
I will answer your question, Rahul, but I forgot. Mr. Iyer got me nervous. That's why I couldn't say this. How do you define a wave? So you think of you're swimming in a sea and there is a wave. No matter how strong a swimmer you are taken a wave. So here the Modi wave doesn't matter what they think of the candidate. They don't think of the issues. It's almost like an emotional connect. I think sociologists and political scientists will write volumes about what happened in 2014, but if the exit poll is right, there is indeed a Modi wave. Now coming back to your question about the youth. Indeed, according to the Cicero India Today opinion poll, the biggest gains that NDA is getting is among the young. But what I am delighted by is the convergence of numbers. See, I always ask the question, if inflation is bad for the rural people, it must be bad for the urban people also. If governance is an important issue, it must be equally important to the rural guys and the urban guys. Now look at what happened. In 2009, the UPA among the young got 27% support. And among the middle-aged, it got 33. Now what has happened? Both at 26, 25. So there is a convergence. What we are finding, I mean, what I take from these numbers, of course, there are different changes, but there is a convergence. You don't find that much of a divide among age groups or caste groups or gender
so there is
or rural
overall
urban.
convergence, but within that convergence there is variation. And it is significant, Manishankar Iyer, because Rahul Gandhi is younger than Modi. There should be a greater youth connect with Rahul Gandhi, which is what you and the Congress were tom-tomming in 2009 when the Congress did as well as it did, that Rahul is the youth icon. Now, despite his relative youth in comparison with Modi, we see the young people of India being the strongest constituency of Narendra Modi. He's got 35% of the young people vote, which is more than in any other age category. Now, that is very worrisome for a leader like Rahul Gandhi, who is supposed to be much younger and should naturally be the youth icon of these young people, but is not.
But since these percentages change from one election to the other, if I were as young as Rahul, I would look forward to the next 15 elections. I wouldn't be so concerned about one. And I think Rahul is like that. In any case, the point that was made a little earlier in this program seems to have completely missed your attention. That all these figures represent a heavy concentration in half the country. And half the country does not reflect what the other half of the country is showing. And so please, therefore, don't make generalizations about rural India and urban India or young India and middle-aged India. What you're saying overwhelmingly represents the view of the youth or the rural voter in one half of the country. That's all. There's an over-representation of half of the country, and therefore there is another half of the country, is the half of the country to which I belong, Tamil Nadu, is the half of the country to which Derek O'Brien belongs, West Bengal. It's that half of the country, or Pinaki Mishra belongs. These are the parts of India that have still not been infected by this Modi virus. And
you're calling it a virus, not a wave. But the reality is, Pinaki Mishra also admits that the BJP will make some inroads in Orissa. He's saying your party has got weak over there, which is why the BJP is gaining ground there. In Tamil Nadu as well, and you fought them on the ground in Tamil Nadu.
A virus is an illness. A virus is an illness. And I regard this as an illness.
No, because Pinaki Mishra, even in Tamil Nadu, in West Bengal, in Odisha, the BJP has made inroads. Now surely, if all of what is being discussed is to be dismissed, then the BJP would not be making inroads. You know, we are seeing one of the biggest electoral movements ever, and both you and Minister Manishankar Iyer are being highly dismissive about it. I am baffled. There must be some grace in victory and in defeat, both, Pinaki Mishra.
No, I am amazed.
Rahul, I just want to say one thing straight away.
Yes, Pinaki.
You know, I really admire somebody like Mani in the Congress party. He's a Rajya Sabha MP. He has chosen to go and fight a very difficult Lok Sabha in Tamil Nadu. Now, you know, one of the figures that's coming out of your numbers is why the Congress's disenchantment among the rural electorate, despite all their tom-tomming of all their celebrated pro-poor programs. I think if the Congress party will draw one very valuable lesson from this election, it is that please listen to your Lok Sabha MPs, listen to your MLAs, listen to your grassroots politicians, don't listen to your armchair, air-conditioned, happy politicians sitting in Delhi. Because the problem that the Congress party is having, all these pro-poor programs never go to the credit of the Congress party. Let me tell you, I'm a Lok Sabha MP, I have 400 odd panchayats and NSCs, I have 4,000 villages. You go into any village, the Pradhan Mantri Gram Sadak Yojana, yes, comes from the central government, but the credit goes to the state government because the state government implements it. The Congress party just doesn't realize this. MGNREGA completely goes to the, obtains the credit of the state government. And what Naveen Patnaik has done very, very skillfully, quite brilliantly actually, is he's married his own programs along the state programs along with the central programs. So we have a Indira Awas, which is not enough. We have a Mo Kudiya, which is my home. So we marry the two. Therefore, all these central programs, which the central government and Rahul Gandhi and Sonia Gandhi believe should be obtaining to their credit, actually never obtains to their credit at all. And they don't listen to their Lok Sabha MPs. Unfortunately, there's a cabal sitting here of Rajya Sabha types who will, who have permanent 4, 5, 6 term Rajya Sabha MPs who go on fashioning policy, fashioning the politics, fashioning the entire strategy.
Do you accept that maybe the Congress read India wrong? In the definition of the Gandhi family, India is, there's a large chunk of poor people. They're the ones who need to be nourished the most. They're the ones who need to be dealt with and cared for the most. And somehow the sense is that you need to entitle them. Modi spoke of empowerment. He spoke of aspiration. He made the poor believe they don't need to remain poor, as Rahul always spoke of their poverty. Do you believe that Modi was able to read the aspirations of India much better than Rahul Gandhi? Mr. Manishankar here.
Assuming your figures are right, obviously Mr. Modi has had some perceptions and been able to articulate them better than the Congress, otherwise the results would be reversed. But the idea that empowerment comes from Modi, it comes from Mahatma Gandhi, it comes from Jawaharlal Nehru, it comes from Rajiv Gandhi and his 73rd Constitution Amendment. This chap Modi was so scared of our interpretation of Panchayat Raj that he was one of the few chief ministers to refuse me permission to visit the panchayats in his state.
Okay, Nirmala Sitharaman wants to come in and make a point, and then I'll take up the literacy figures and then the income figures. Nirmala Sitharaman.
Rahul, I'm very grateful you remembered me.
Vocabulary.
Yes, ma'am.
I'll make only 3 quick points because I don't seem to get much of an opportunity to talk in this esteemed panel that you've invited. So, first thing, for all those who said Modi is not going to be acceptable anywhere else other than in Gujarat, I think whether they call it a wave or as a bad loser would want to say anything else, let them go ahead saying it. But the fact is that today, if your exit polls figures are right, just as Mr. Lahiri is going about repeatedly saying, I hope it is right, and I'm sure it's going to be right, Mr. Lahiri, it is certainly India looking for a change from the kind of Congress politics which has dominated us. First point. Second, very clearly, the kind of politics which the Congress was doing. Pinaki Mishra refers to, going to the states and giving a program, and that the state governments have implemented very well. Yes, many state governments have done very well, no doubt. But the arrogance with which Congress leadership went about saying, we gave you this, we gave you that, we, was completely rebutted. Because many state governments are doing well, right. And there are points where state governments also should be given that due space which the Congress refused to give. Second, and I think, because I may not get an opportunity again to rebut anybody, the kind of venom which has been spit each time when we are talking about the kind of politics which Modi has played in Gujarat, delivered on good governance and meeting people's expectations as regards their, basic requirements in terms of jobs, skills and so on, has done a lot of favor for the BJP campaign. The more the venom they spat, the more the people have given them back. So let them continue with a tirade which is very graceless, But never mind, that probably is the way in which Congress would want to accept defeat. I do not want to jump, and prejudge what is going to happen on 16th. But I think the larger message is people want you all to come and speak to them, link with them, connect with them and answer questions to them, rather than sitting on judgment about everybody around. Today the people have spoken.
Okay, there are two more analytic data points that I want to take up on our screen right now. One of them has to do with literacy and the other has to do with income. Is there a correlation between the level of literacy and the number of people who voted for the Congress and the BJP? Let's take literacy first and then I'll take income. Let's start with the non-literate voter, the one who isn't educated. The Congress had 25% of the non-literate vote last time, now down to 21. That's a loss of 4% amongst the non-literates. Let's come to the BJP now. The BJP had 16% of the non-literate vote. That's gone up to 32, a gain of 16. Remember, 14 to me is an important figure. Anything more than 14 means they're doing better in this category than they are nationally. 14 is important. If it's less than 14, it means they aren't doing as well. It's not aggregating as much as categories which are more than 14. So the BJP has done well amongst non-literates. After non-literates, let's come to the primary voter, those who've had primary education and no more. The Congress had 29% of the primary vote last time. That's now down to 23, a loss of 6%. The BJP had 15% of the primary vote last time. That's now up to 30, a gain of 15% among the voters who are educated up to primary level. Let's now come to metric, those who have studied till the 10th grade. And let's take a look at how the voting pattern there has been impacted. From 28 to 22, a loss of 6% for the Congress. Whereas as far as the BJP is concerned, the jump from 19 to 34, that's a gain of 15% amongst those who've studied up till the 10th. Let's now look at those who've studied beyond college, till college and above. The BJP here, okay, let's start with the Congress, 31 to 23, that's a loss of 8% amongst those who've studied till college and above. Whereas as far as the BJP is concerned, from 21 to 33, a gain of 12% amongst those who've been to college. Across education levels, the BJP has done well, equally amongst those who are better, in fact, amongst those who haven't studied as compared to those who've gone to college and above. Let's now come to income categories, because Manishankar Iyer and many others would like us to believe that Rahul Gandhi and the Congress reach out to the poorest and Modi reaches out to the Ambanis and the Adanis of the world. Can we have the figures for low income voters on our screen, plus starting first with the Congress? Amongst the low income categories, the Congress, which had 24% of the vote share, has lost only 3%. They're down to 21. This is less than what they've lost nationally, which means while they've lost vote share amongst the low income categories, they haven't lost as substantially as they have elsewhere. The BJP, on the other hand, increasing its vote share amongst low income categories from 18 to 32, a gain of 14% of the low income vote. Let's now come to the lower middle income vote. So the lower middle income categories. The Congress, from 26 to 22, a loss of 4%. Once again, quite apparent, while the Congress is losing out, not losing out as substantially as they have in some of the other categories we've been looking at in the last 1 hour. The BJP, though, among the low income category, has increased its vote share from 17 to 32. That's a gain of 15% of the lower middle income vote, gaining quite substantially in this category as well. Let's now come to the upper middle income vote, usually called the middle class. Here, the Congress has lost much more. So here, this is where the big loss is coming. They didn't lose as badly among the low income category, among the low middle income category, but among the middle income category, they've lost twice what they lost among the low income and the low middle income category, losing a whopping 9% of the upper middle income vote. Whereas as far as the BJP is concerned, they've gone up a whopping 15% from 17 to 32. That's a substantial gain for the BJP among the middle income category. Then you've also got the high income category where, let me just run you past the figures. Among the high income category, you've got the UPA coming down from 35 to 30. That's a loss of 5. You've got the NDA going up to 38. That's a gain of 9. And you've got others at 32. The biggest gains happening among the upper middle income and the high income category of voters. And that is interesting. While the BJP has gained across categories, the Congress has lost least amongst the low income and the low middle income categories, which means that the middle classes have been more receptive. You've gained everywhere, but the Congress is losing out least amongst the poorest sections of society. Nirmala Sitharaman, to you first.
Well, there will have to be somewhere some kind of a balancing, and even there it is a limitation of loss. It's not as if they retained their position nor have they gained. The fact is, even there they have lost, but not so significantly. The message is you can have a hair-splitting analysis of where, what and so on, but one thing is common. Across the board, rural, urban, rich, poor, educated, not so educated, young, old, BJP has connected. The campaign has reached, and that's what is the message as it stands today. On the 16th, we may be able to speak far more in an affirmative way.
Okay. Dr. Lairi, I want your sense of the education matrix and the income matrix, both of which show the BJP gaining across categories, the Congress losing lesser amongst the poorer in comparison with amongst the middle class and the upper middle class.
Rahul, you have chosen a very important topic. First, you remember when universal adult franchise was given in India. The issue was, will the poor really have the wisdom and intelligence to vote properly? I am delighted by these numbers. I have been talking about this convergence. Look at non-literate voters up to higher educated voters. The Congress in 2009, the percentage voting from across categories was between 25 and 31. What do you find this time? Between 21 and 23. The variation is only 2%. So you're seeing convergence. People are voting in the same way, more or less. BJP, previously it was 15 to 21, a 6 percentage point difference. Now is between 30 and 34. So I find that there is not much difference in the educational matrix as far as popularity of different parties is concerned. But what is happening is that they started from a high base. Congress is
and it shows
more.
that the Modi wave has permeated all the way down to rural India, to the poorest of the poor, to scheduled caste, to scheduled tribes. So Pinaki Mishra, when you say that there is a Modi wave only in half the country, in that half of the country, the Modi message has gone all the way down, deep down, across categories.
Let me complete the middle class. See, the middle class is a very interesting point.
I said,
the growing middle class, the numbers differ. Some people say it's 70 million, some people say it's 140 million, depending on how you define the middle class. But I think the electoral platform of the Congress party and the BJP were very, very different. Congress was talking about roti kapra makan. We'll give you food, we'll give you clothing, we'll give you housing. Whereas BJP and Modi are talking about bijli sarak pani. We'll not give you roti, we'll not give you makan, but we'll give you the wherewithal by which you can earn your keep. And I find this has found some resonance among the middle class, and your numbers are showing that the BJP is making greater inroads among the middle classes.
Okay, we can debate for the next 48 hours with Pinaki Mishra and with Manishankar Iyer whether there is a wave that exists or not. But the numbers have been put out. Mr. Iyer, in conclusion, I just wish to ask this to you, especially amongst the OBCs and the backward castes. We've seen Modi do well. Do you think your pot shot at Narendra Modi at the Talkatora Stadium had something to do with that? Do you think that helped Modi turn that phrase into something which gave him a certain sense of sympathy which he was able to leverage? Should he be sending you also, Mr. Iyer, thank you note post the 16th of May, sir?
I knew you'd indulge in this cheap crack, and I don't think it's worthy of a response.
Okay, I don't want to push this. Mr. Iyer is entitled to his response. Nirmala Sitharaman wants to counter and help conclude this program, ma'am.
Counter this? No way. No way.
Okay.
A cheap comment doesn't deserve a comment back.
Okay, attacks have been made, there have been counter-attacks. We're distilling the results and the outcome. Say which comment contributed to what, but you know what the net outcome is, and that's being put out today. This is the results of the India Today post-poll survey. We have two more important data points to look at. One of them has to do with the future of the Congress under Rahul Gandhi. What do people who've been surveyed by Dhananjay and his team at Cicero think of Rahul Gandhi's ability to lead the Congress into the future? And what do people think about the comparison between Rahul and Priyanka? Do they actually believe that Rahul is up to the task, or do they think Priyanka would make a better alternative? You can find out the results of the India Today Group Cicero opinion poll on the future of the Congress tomorrow night at 9:30 p.m. on Headlines Today. Very, very interesting data sets lined up for you tomorrow in the evening. For the time being, Nirmala Sitharaman, Manishankar Iyer, also to Pinaki Mishra, Dhananjay Joshi and Dr. Ashok Lagi for joining us on Your Vote 2014. Thank you very much.